Welcome back. It is 6:46, and over the holiday weekend, you heard a lot of people talking about the Omicron variant, a new variant found in South Africa. And joining us now to talk more about this new variant and why it is considered concerning is Dr. Glenn Goldis, the Chief Medical Officer for Kern Medical. Dr. Goldis, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Good morning and happy holiday.
Happy holiday to you as well. Let's just talk a little bit about why this is such a concern. We've heard about other variants spreading around the world for several months now. We know, of course, Delta is the big one that a lot of people have been talking about for so long. Now we're talking about Omicron. Why is this one so concerning for health officials?
Yeah, Omicron variant is a derivative of a South African variant, B.1.1. The concern about this one is that there are 32 mutations in the spike proteins, many more than were seen on Delta, and that it's these areas that our vaccines typically target. So it's concerning because there's so many mutations, it introduces a risk of the vaccines not actually working. We'll have to see.
I mean, we're just talking about just a few days. There's been a lot of talk about this new variant.
Yeah.
And we've heard from health officials around the world saying, we still don't know a lot about what this means going forward. Now, in South Africa, we have seen a significant spike within the last 2 weeks. So what is the concern, and is this something that we could see a repeat of what we saw with the Delta variant, or is it just too early to tell at this point?
Yeah, it in fact is too early to tell. Right now, Omicron is competing, if you would, with Delta for hosts, and it is at least as infectious as Delta, we think. But what we don't really yet know is just how bad the infections are going to be compared to Delta, especially regarding hospitalizations and death. We also know that the symptoms were relatively mild in South Africa, but the population is younger. So we'll just have to see what happens, and it'll probably take a couple of weeks before we know more.
I want to ask about what this means for those who are fully vaccinated. For those people who have received their status of full vaccination, are they at risk now? And do you recommend getting a booster?
Yeah, so to keep in mind that in Africa, the vaccination rate was only about 23% compared to 65% in the US, and that may be playing a role. On the other hand, we are recommending that if you're over 5 years of age, get vaccinated anyway, even if you're not sure if it's effective against Omicron. In addition, if you're over 18, yeah, you should consider a booster, especially if you're at risk due to an underlying health condition. And of course, this is the season. You should get a flu shot. You should wear your mask. And we're still recommending that you isolate if you test positive. Most importantly, if you're planning on traveling for the holidays, also make sure you get tested and get vaccinated.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the holidays, because we just went through Thanksgiving, and now we have Christmas and New Year's just a few weeks away. This is the time of year where we all gather, especially indoors. Last Christmas season, we were in a much dire situation, it seems like. What are you looking at, and where do you think we are now compared to where we were last year? Do you think that Kern County is in a better spot today going into the holidays than we were last year in 2020?
Well, there certainly have been more people vaccinated and receiving boosters today than there was at this time a year ago. However, compared to California at large or the U.S. in general, Kern County, unfortunately, is not as well vaccinated or boosted. And so we are going to continue to recommend and push vaccine. We want to see people protect themselves against all the variants as well as the original coronavirus. And again, if you can get flu vaccine as well, protect you from the flu, that might help lower your risk of complications from other diseases. It's important also that we keep in mind that the masking and the distancing and all of that still applies, especially if you're going to be in a crowded area or you're going to be traveling amongst strangers.
I want to go back to this new variant because I know that right now health officials around the world are still trying to see if the vaccines will still help with this variant, or if the variant will evade the protection given to us by these vaccines. For you as Chief Medical Officer, what are you looking at, and when do you think we'll get to know more about this variant and how it could impact us as we get closer to the holidays? And I know that you have Dr. Fauci yesterday saying he would not be surprised if the variant is here in the U.S. and already circulating. So as for you as Chief Medical Officer, as one of the top health professionals in Kern County, what are you going to be looking at in the coming weeks?
Well, we're certainly taking a close look at hospitalizations and death rates due to the virus. We're concerned about capacity to handle yet another surge here in Kern County. We are currently seeing some relief from the prior surge, and I'm hoping that it won't surge again. We'll just have to wait and see. It will probably take a couple of weeks before we see exactly what the trends are. We'll keep tuned into what the Department of Public Health is recommending, and we'll certainly watch our own census.
Wait and see. I think that is the message for all of us right now, as this is still very new and doctors around the world try to figure out what is going on with this new variant. Dr. Goldis, thanks so much for joining us this morning. We do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Stay safe.